It's still rolling. Come on. Oh, yeah, we're live. Okay. We're live. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Dr. Lubinton here. I help people live long and well because I believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I'm really excited today to be having this conversation that is very near and dear to my heart. I know I say that very often and everything I'm excited about and all that good stuff, but we're talking about how to use your mind to improve your health. This is not woo-woo, this is science, this is evidence-based medicine, and I am delighted to have on the show Dr. Maiysha. I didn't actually, did I say that right? Maiysha Clairborne.
You did.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you have questions, because this is a value adding program, please, you can put it in the comments. You have friends who should watch this live. Go ahead and invite them, send this link to them, tag them to in the comment. But we're going to go ahead. So good evening, everyone. Doc, can you kindly introduce yourself? Who are you and what you do? So we can go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm Dr. Maiysha Clairborne. I'm a board certified family physician, and I am a trainer of something called Neurolinguistic programming. And we're going to get into all of that. But what I essentially do is I help people to use their thoughts, to reframe their thoughts, their beliefs, and their attitudes around their well-being, so that they can be at the source of their own health and wellness. And that actually ends up spreading to the people around them, so they can actually help people around them, empower them, and partner with them as well.
So you help people help themselves.
I help people help themselves, and I help people to help others to help them too.
I love it. It's like a chain reaction.
It really is.
The ripple effect. I like it. I like it. Now, Doc, why do you do what you do?
Oh man, let me tell you, I have always been fascinated with the brain and with human behavior. And I am a firm believer that, of course there are there are things out there that help us, but first and foremost, we are in control of our choices, our thoughts, our minds. And our minds have so much more power than we realize in what we choose to do, but also in our healing. In fact, our mind is always eavesdropping on our body's processes. And if you think about, if you've ever, people hear about meditation and how meditation can help lower things like blood pressure, or how it can calm us down when we're anxious. That is specifically because there is a connection between the mind and the body. There are processes, there are neurotransmitters that are activated or that are released, and there are hormones that are modulated when we think certain ways, when we speak certain ways, when we're listening to certain things, certain frequencies. And this has been shown by PET scan. So I'm a firm believer that our thought is more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And when we can have control over what we think, what we feel, then we can actually empower and modulate our own well-being.
Okay, awesome. That segues into my question. Let's talk about the mind-body connection here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain it a little bit further? Like, how is that going to? Because I have someone who's watching, like, yeah, sure, I can just sit here and like, I wish I feel better, and my body would just snap into shape. But could you explain that a little bit more? How the mind-body connection and how it's related to overall health?
Yeah. So when certain there are certain neurotransmitters that are associated with certain types of thoughts and feelings. So when we are being, let's say, criticized, when we're thinking thoughts that are negative, then that releases a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is what is known as the stress hormone. So anytime we're under stress, our body releases this hormone, and that hormone over time can cause damage. It can cause inflammation. It can, in excess, we know it can raise the blood sugar and make the blood sugar resistant to going down. So that's that aspect of it. It is like a sustained release tablet, by the way. So when we're thinking negative thoughts, when we're hearing negative things, the cortisol is released, and it's like a long release tablet, like a 12-hour Aleve or something of that nature. Now, conversely, when we receive praise, when we're connecting with others, when we're thinking positive thoughts, we have other hormones like our serotonin release. Serotonin is a mood hormone that helps to modulate and improve our mood. We have um, oxytocin, which is our bonding hormone,
Mm.
and that helps us to connect with people, which is why people say you should have 8 hugs in a day because it releases the oxytocin, the bonding hormone. And this hormone improves our mood and helps us to be in our thinking brain and makes us feel empowered to make better choices for ourselves. The problem is oxytocin and serotonin and even dopamine are shorter, so they're shorter release hormones. So you
Wow.
need right. So you need to reinforce them
Oh my
a little
God.
bit more often. Right. And that's part of the mind body connection. So that is why it's so important to be mindful of what you put in your brain, what you feed your brain. So not just what you feed your body, but what are the things that you're looking at? What are the things that you're telling yourself? Who are the people around you?
All right, Doc. But life is lifing. So I have someone who's here who's like, yeah, of course, I'll feel great. I'll think positively. People are saying positive things to myself, and I'll feel great. But for someone who's watching, who's like, I don't know if you live in the real world, but how is that even possible when life is laughing, Doc? I don't know how I'm asking this question. It's more so like that's my, I can imagine someone watching like, yeah, of course, But how do you adjust to knowledge or to this, knowing that the negative one is extended release, but the one that's supposed positive, you have to kind of keep getting bursts of it. So how do
Mhm.
you approach someone who's saying, yeah, but I'm going through a tough season right now, and it's
Yeah.
hard for me to see past the stress?
Yes. And I think that's such a valid question because if we look out in the world right now, I mean, just bearing witness to everything that is going on is traumatic. There's a lot of trauma that's happening in the world, and then you layer that on top of what could be happening in one's personal life. I think
Mm,
the first thing to look at is, well, the first thing to notice is, where do you have a choice? Where
mm,
do you have control? And sometimes it's grasping onto those, the small things, the tiny things, those that give you those little wins, and even those tiny wins, those tiny things that you can grab control on, those tiny choices that you can make. Like, you may be able to have a choice of whether you take the elevator or whether you take the stairs. You may have the choice of what you eat for dinner tonight, whether you have that extra snack or whether you decide to
mm,
have an apple
mm,
instead. And these little wins reinforce those, the positive hormones. It helps you to feel good about that little choice. And those little choices add up. They add up over time. All right? So that's the first thing, is, where do you have a choice? And then the second thing is, who around you who around you is your person?
mm,
That's your safe person, your person that you can connect with, the person that you can be completely authentic around, and they're not going to try to fix you or should you or do any of those things. Who is your person, your safe person? Who is also your accountability partner, the person who can empower you? Because there's doing this alone, that is that is probably the worst thing, to try to
mm,
do it by yourself. But as you know, the proverb, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want
mm,
to go
mm,
far, you go together. And so I always advocate for having an accountability partner, someone who there's the accountability partner who's like the cheerleader accountability partner, but then there's
mhm.
the accountability partner that will hold you to who you say you want to be, and will not allow you to tell yourself any lies about who you are, right? So those are two big things. Where can you have those little bits of control, and who are your person? Who can you do this with? who is the person you feel safe with and who's the person who's going to keep you accountable. And they may be two different people or they may be the same person. And it's okay to have multiple people. In fact, I recommend having more than one person because
Okay.
community is everything in this work.
Community is everything. And now as we know that takes time. For someone who's watching is like, yeah, I used to have a community, I left that community, or I thought I had a
Mhm.
community, I don't have any more now, I moved. Um,
Mhm.
so that's a process. But can we talk about other techniques, mindfulness practices or techniques that can enhance health for someone who's like, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on the small wins, the big wins, recognizing them and emphasizing them and drawing strength from that. But are there any other specific techniques to help with enhancing health and well-being, even through the drudges of life?
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I share that, you said something really great, and I want to just address it. And you said, "Well, what if I've moved or what if I've left my community?" And the
Mm,
reality is, there's that happening a lot today. And so, um, what I recommend is if you know the types of things that you like to do, say you like to walk, or
mm,
let's say you have a Peloton, or let's say you like to swim, or you like to dance. There's a little website called meetup.com, and I know that it's everywhere and it's all over.
okay.
And you can find a group in your area where you can start to, or if you're a mom and your kids are in school and you notice that your kids have a best friend, well, maybe you can connect with that best friend's mom because you're going to have to know their parents anyway. And that could be a friend person that you connect with to start to build that community. Yes, it does take time. Yes, sometimes it's hard. I am a full-on introvert, so if I can do it,
Hard to believe, but okay. Sometimes it's hard to believe.
tested
Mhm.
introvert, Myers-Briggs tested. And so and I'll share just a quick little story. So I'm in my neighborhood. I've been in this neighborhood for 4 years. I was walking down the street, just taking a walk. My son's been away for a couple of weeks. And um, I walked past this house and there was a
Mm,
neighbor outside. And I waved to the neighbor, and this neighbor looked like someone I wanted to get to know. And in that moment, I thought, I don't want to go up to her door because I'm not that bold. But what I did was I went home and I wrote a little note. And then I walked back to her house and I put the little notes in the mailbox.
it's
And
sweet.
guess what? 2 days later, she texts me. Now I just made a new friend, right? We're going to go
Mm, mm,
walking.
mm,
I used to do that with my son's school. Note to the teacher, give this
mm.
to so and so's mom. So, there are many ways you can build community, right? And it doesn't have to be always having to go to talk to strangers, although,
Could
you can do that
could.
too.
I like that, and it takes effort, it takes intentionality.
Mhm,
Even as an introvert, you can learn to do it, so it can be something learned. So it's not
mhm,
like I'm an introvert, I can't do this.
mhm.
And you're also speaking to even superficial relationships. There are benefits there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, we're best friends tomorrow. And I'm saying that for the person who say, man, I can't just. I mean, I've had people tell me, when you get a certain age, you can't make new friends, and I almost bought into it, but I was like, you know what, no.
Yeah.
So be encouraged. Even superficial relationships have their benefits. So awesome. All right, let's go back to the tips we're
So
going to talk about.
back to the question. Yeah. Thanks for I wanted to address that because I think it's an important question.
Yes, it
So
is.
other techniques, I think that having structure, and this is more of an advice than a technique, but having structure allows you to employ certain techniques. So I really, really like breath work. I
Okay.
love breath work. Breath work, when you do it, activates what we call the parasympathetic system. So when you're in that high stress state, it activates the part of you that helps you to calm down, the part of the brain that helps you to calm down, that helps you to think through things. And I'll share with you a particular sequence that I do in just a moment. But when you're in that high stress environment and you need to take that pause, you can do this anywhere, anytime, any time of day. The first is called the 4-7-8 breath. Now, have you heard of the you know about the 4-7-8
Don't worry
breath?
about it. Yes.
Right. So the 4-7-8 breath is inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. And there's a similar breath that is called the box breath. That's inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So would you like to try it with the audience real quick for
Oh,
a
yes,
couple of breaths?
sure.
Yeah.
Show and tell.
So let's find yourself in just a comfortable position and just start to come to notice your breath before we do anything. Just come to notice your breath. And then on your next inhale, we're going to inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to inhale 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is the 4-7-8 breath. You could do 5 of those, and that gives you the pause, right? The pause, and it kind of, in the moment, just calms things down, gives you the space to be able to think through the next moment. What is the next right thing to do?
Hmm. Hmm. Easy to do, easy not to do. And that's the
Mhm.
challenge.
Right,
Right?
right.
Easy to do, easy not to do.
Easy not to. And I think that that's why structure is so important as a practice, is making the decision to that I'm going to do this, and then putting it on your schedule or setting a reminder. Say, oh, I want to do this breath, 3 times a day, 10 breaths 3 times a day. Then just put a little reminder on your phone, and then you have to be intentional about stopping. Yeah. Now, another thing that I often do and recommend, especially to my patients, when as a practice to reframe the mind,
Mhm.
is the morning and evening gratitude list.
Mm.
And there are many people who do the gratitude list. And to create a habit, what it does is it trains the mind it directionalizes the thinking. And so here's what I recommend. You get a journal and you just put that journal on your nightstand and you put a pen there. So that means you have no excuse. Right. So if you have to go and find the thing and right, it's on your nightstand stand. You can choose to do it first in the evening, or you could choose to do it first in the morning, but eventually you do it both. When you wake up in the morning, before your feet touch the ground, you pick up your journal off your nightstand and your pen, and you write 3 things. That's it, just 3 things that you're grateful for. It could be, I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. It doesn't have to be anything deep. People think, oh, it has to be something big and deep. No, I'm grateful that I have 2 eyes, or my sight, if you have your sight, or that I can breathe air, or that I have a bed to sleep in, or whatever the case may be. It may be that you are grateful for something big that happened.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the night, 3 more things. So it's just 3 things. And what if you do this for 30 days, you will begin to see a shift in your thinking.
Dr. Maiysha, can I say something? Because I used I used to think that this was woo woo stuff. And even as a Christian, you're taught to be grateful, give thanks to God. So be grateful in all things, give thanks. Yes. So it seemed like yeah, sure, I understand in theory, and you give thanks. But when I started to do this intentionally and
Mhm.
teaching my patients to do this over time, the results are palpable.
Yes.
So what Dr. Maisha is talking about is tried and tested. Please don't wait for the next day. But over time, you will see the difference. Please
Yes.
carry on.
Before I was even trained in the work that I'm trained to do now, I had a mentor
Mm,
that had me do this. I was going through a very hard time. I had just gone through a divorce, and she said to me this exact thing: get a gratitude list, put it on your desk for the
mm.
next 30 days. And that was in 2008.
Wow.
And I have that many journals for that many years. And at the end, in December of every single year, I order my moleskin, whatever color I'm gonna get, or whatever specialty, whatever characters is gonna be on there, so that I can start my day every morning. And so that would be my challenge. That would be my invitation, is to start your gratitude list and do it for 30 days. And here's the science behind it. It is, if you're if for people who may like to hike, who have ever hiked before, who have ever maybe even driven the same way to school or to work. When
Mm,
you're driving to work, you're driving the same path, you're used to it. It's automatic, right? But let's say you get a new job and you have to go a different route. You have to be conscious, and you actually have to be aware of the direction. Now, you because what'll happen is, what you'll get on the road and your body will be in automatic mode, and you'll go to your old job.
right.
I've
Very
done
true.
it. I've like get up in the morning and I'm supposed to be going somewhere, and I'm driving in the same direction as maybe I'm taking my son to school, and then I just end up at my son's school and I'm like, oh, he's out of school, right? And so what you're doing is you're creating new neurological pathways in your brain, and it's giving a new direction to your brain. And what happens over time is you carve that new pathway. You get used to thinking that way. And then when you do that, your little reticular activating system begins to match your life to what's going on in your brain. And so it'll see things that it never saw before, because you're thinking differently. And that's the way this works. And it works over time. It is something that has to be done over time.
Yes. You start to see opportunities in the midst of the challenges.
Mhm.
It's amazing. The
Yeah.
brain. This is so good. I'm so excited. Trying to be calm because we're all zen and stuff. I'm so excited. This is powerfully simple but powerful. And I'm hoping, please start it, a 30-day challenge, because you're worth it. Okay.
Mhm.
You're worth it.
Absolutely.
All right, Doc. Then, wow, the time went by. Okay. We have 7 minutes. Okay. So, Doc, I wanted you to share success stories because you've done this for a while. You help organizations, you help, groups, or, can you share some success stories of things you've seen people do just by improving their mind, the mind paradigm?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, so I'll share first from when I was in clinical practice, and then I'll share kind of like what's happened in the coaching realm, and then what's happening in the organizational realm. So in terms of when I was in clinical practice, um, I had a young lady who was experiencing some women's health challenges, particularly fibroids. And when she came in, she was on the verge of having to potentially have a hysterectomy. And so she came to me. Um, she said she had talked to her OBGYN and said, okay, I'll give you 90 days. I'll give you 90 days. And so she came to me and it's like, what can we do, doc? What can we do? And so what I typically would do was change the diet. We put them on a particular diet regimen. I was am, but I don't practice anymore, an acupuncturist. And then I did work with coaching, work with the mind. And so one of the first things I always run into is the doubt, the doubt about whether or not I can make this change, whether or
Hmm.
not I can sustain this change afterwards. And so after a bit of discovery around what is the limiting belief that
Hmm.
has you think that you cannot change, what is the historical belief about food that gives you a relationship to food, we were able to shift that relationship, and also discover what are some recipes that she liked. This is
Hmm.
a Black woman that she liked, that felt like her old food but were healthier. And as we started to reframe and tweak her mind around that, cooking became easier, eating became easier. Um, her stress levels, we gave her some structure around how do you set boundaries? How do you ask for what you want? Her stress levels went down. Fast forward 90 days, fibroid shrunk, no surgery.
Wow.
And that's one of many stories that I've worked with women that I've worked with. And when she completed with the practice, because oftentimes I would have certain patients that were long-term patients, but then I'd have certain patients that I would release, go back to your OBGYN, go continue to do what you're doing, maybe follow up once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Several years down the line, after I had sold my practice, I ran into her on Facebook, and she said, "Do you know that I am still doing the things that you taught me to do, and I am still healthy and feeling well?" That's sustainable change.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Another, just in terms of mine, another success story was when I used to coach women in healthcare, helping them to sort of dismantle some of the old thought that can happen as a result of our training. And our training, for those of you who are not in healthcare, can be very traumatic, and it's very conditioning. And so this woman came to me, and she was just having a lot of feelings of anxiety, she was wanting to leave medicine, but it wasn't because she actually wanted to leave clinical medicine. It was because what she really wanted was to leave her toxic environment. And so we did some work around some healing work, but then we did some work around what are her beliefs about being able to find her ideal job, and released beliefs that she wasn't good enough, released beliefs that she wasn't smart enough, released beliefs that she couldn't have what she wanted in life. And then from that point, helped her search for another job, and helped her to interview for another job. And from that point, because she released the beliefs, she was able to see things that she hadn't seen before, find the job that she thought would never exist, and interview in a way where she could hear things that she couldn't hear based on some training that we did. And she ended up in her ideal job.
She could hear things that she didn't used to hear.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's powerful.
Mhm.
Because sometimes what is supposed to be perceived as, or you think is a threat, is actually not.
Mhm.
It's someone extending the hand, but it's man, that's powerful. That's deep on so many levels. This is so good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the filters that we have, like from our birth luck, from our upbringing, from our environment, um, the filters that are installed narrow our ability to hear things. And when we begin to dismantle those beliefs and dismantle those filters and expand our capacity, that's how we can hear the things that we couldn't hear before and see the things that we couldn't see before.
Okay, this is powerful. Everyone, please take notes. Bet on yourself. Let's start this. But doc, I have people who are watching who are like, man, this doctor is phenomenal. It's hard to believe she's an introvert. Um, but where can people connect with you? Either have you come speak on their platform, follow you for your content,
Yeah.
or potentially work with you. Doc, where can people find you?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I am /Dr. Maiysha on all platforms. Now, yes, I am on TikTok, not as often, but primarily you'll find my content on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you're in an organization and you say, oh, I want this doctor to come speak about some of the things that she does. I talk about cultivating trust and psychological safety. I talk a lot about mindset and reframing. Um, LinkedIn is the place to be. If you're thinking that you want to come and work with me to release some of the old thought patterns, to dismantle old negative or disempowering beliefs, then you want to go to mindremappingacademy.com. You can also go to drmaiysha.com, mindremappingacademy.com. you'll see all the ways that you can schedule a complimentary discovery call with me, and we can talk about what are the ways that I can help you to release old thoughts and open up new ways of thinking so that you can get what you want in your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you didn't mention your podcast now.
Oh, yes. How could I forget? Thank you for reminding me. Behind beliefs and behavior. Behind beliefs and behavior. So, if you want to listen to hear a little bit more about these things that we talked about today, I go a lot deeper into things like communication and belief patterns and even relationships. Then that's the podcast to listen to. Behind beliefs and behaviors.
Awesome. And I've put all that information in the comments and also at the bottom of the screen. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Dr. Maiysha, and you see the spelling at the bottom of the screen as well. Doc, thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. This has been rich. It went by really quickly, but I'm thankful for the time with you. Thank you big time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
All right, awesome, awesome. To all our viewers, no one asked any questions. Let me see. Okay, yes, I have. She said I definitely need some remapping for my mindset. Awesome, I agree, Ms. Trisha. We all do. We can all use some of that. I'll be honest with you. So definitely reach out, connect with her, and follow her. She knows what she's talking about. Okay. But thank you all for watching. Those who watch live and replay, big favor before you leave, if you have not subscribed to this channel, wherever the button is, I don't know, top, left, right, whatever, like, follow, subscribe, so you can get more content like this. It lets the social media people know that what we're doing is adding value. And as always, if you're looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a compassionate family physician who will help you live long and well and have conversations like this, I am she. I almost forgot what I was going to say. I am she. Thank you. You're pointing the way too. Thank you. And someone in the comment is saying they will be reaching out to you. So yay.
Excellent. Look forward to it.
All right, everyone. Have a good one. Remember, share. Sharing is caring. Okay. Bye.
Bye.